Hey everybody, welcome back to this channel. The goal of this channel is to help you debank, and part of the debanking journey and process involves a lot of what I call P2P cryptocurrency trading, usually on a cryptocurrency exchange. And on this channel, you'll find lots of tutorials and how-to videos explaining how to debank, how to navigate in the P2P trading landscape. There's ways for you to make money, there's ways for you to save money, there's ways for you to have additional utilities in your whole cryptocurrency journey. There's many different ecosystems within the cryptocurrency world. You've got the big Bitcoin maxi world, you've got the Web3 world, and this is another world. This is one of the many worlds that exist in the cryptocurrency world, and that's P2P trading. And I want to make a video today to explain my position, why I believe that P2P trading is the future, and why it's going to be extremely important for everyone in the cryptocurrency world to become familiar with P2P cryptocurrency trading. And I'm worried that this video might be a little bit rambly for you. I hope you have the patience to sit through it, because I have to organize my thoughts while I'm speaking to you. But it's just that there's a lot of different layers to get into to explain why I've come to the conclusions that I've come to, and part of that's also going to involve explaining who I am and where I've come from in order to get to why I've come to the conclusions that I've come to. So I'm a P2P trader. I run a cryptocurrency exchange, more or less. And I've come to this position in a very unique and roundabout way. So I want to tell you a bit about my story. I'm sure you'll find it very enlightening. So many of you don't know that I have another YouTube channel. It's called David G Does Chinese. And it's me going into video essay length regarding niche periods in Chinese history, because I studied Mandarin for over 12 years, and that journey continues on. And I'm really a fanatic about Chinese history, the language, and I've spent a lot of time there. I went to university there, and that's been a lot of my focus outside of the cryptocurrency stuff. And when I was living in China, I was still really obsessed with cryptocurrency, but as you know, Bitcoin had been banned supposedly a dozen times. I can make a video about that in the future. And it's not necessarily straightforward buying Bitcoin. But it was really interesting buying Bitcoin in China, because I learned that there was a certain strategy you had to employ to be able to buy Bitcoin in China without getting in trouble. And it was a different way that we're used to in the West. In the free world, as some people like to call it, you send a bank transfer from your bank to the crypto exchange, then you use the funds on the exchange to buy Bitcoin. It's as simple as that. In China, there was a different way of doing it, because they didn't allow cryptocurrency exchanges to exist. I mean, they might be there, but they'd be behind a VPN wall. On top of that, banks, like Chinese banks, couldn't directly onboard funds into those Chinese cryptocurrency exchanges like Huobi or Binance or whatever. So the most standard way of purchasing cryptocurrency was peer-to-peer trading. And a lot of this took place in the website called Local Bitcoins. So I'm sure there were other maybe niche Chinese peer-to-peer trading websites that I haven't heard of, but Local Bitcoins was the OG of peer-to-peer trading, and so much volume came from people in China peer-to-peer trading with each other using Alipay, WeChat Pay, and even Chinese bank transfers to each other. And you might be wondering, if China is such a controlled place, how is it that people could still trade? I mean, they were trading. China has, even to this day, one of the largest trading volumes in the world, especially if you include Hong Kong as well in that. But even if you don't want to include Hong Kong, it's really up there. It's got to be a bare minimum second to the USA. So how are so many people having access to this liquidity despite everything being locked down? Well, part of it's because the way that China went about banning Bitcoin, which it never really specifically banned Bitcoin, but what they did was that they just made it so, if you're a cryptocurrency exchange in China, they made it so banks can't onboard their cash into that crypto exchange. So if you have an account in a Chinese bank, in order to onboard your funds, you would have to send your funds to that cryptocurrency exchange. And China just stepped in the middle. The government stepped in the middle and said you can't do that. So if you're sending funds to exchange, your funds would be blocked, or the cryptocurrency exchange would just outright reject it, and for that reason, most of the cryptocurrency exchanges left China. So what if there was another way around it? What if instead of dealing with a bank, instead of sending your funds to a cryptocurrency exchange, which is ultimately a third party, right? You have to understand the cryptocurrency exchange is just a third party, like they're connecting you with buyers. So you're a buyer, and they're simply connecting you with sellers. It's a third party arrangement. What if you could get rid of the third party and you could just directly connect to a seller? Well, then you don't have to worry about a third party who can be controlled, because of these third parties are centralized, and it's all this power and infrastructure concentrated in one place. It's easy for the centralized authorities, the government, to focus on that entity and shut it down, and it can make very large sweeping changes by only affecting a few things, right? But if everyone is interconnected and directly dealing with each other, there's almost no way to stop that kind of trading from happening, right? So provided that people are still able to directly trade with each other, there should be no problem. So what I would do when I was in China, I'd be getting paid on Alipay, then I'd be connected to a seller on local Bitcoins, and I would just send him funds directly, and then he would send me the Bitcoin. And it was as simple as that. It was a very simple trade, and no one could do anything about it. Every time I send funds on Alipay or WeChat Pay, there's no information about what we were trading. It's just no different to if I met someone on the street and I just handed them cash. There's no information being transmitted about what was purchased or why I gave that person money. It's just I sent the money and that's it. And you could do this kind of thing, even with bank transfers. I could send you money right now, and there doesn't have to be any reason for it. I just send it to you. But if I send it to a crypto exchange, or if I send it to a business or a company, it's very clear what that money is being used for. If I send my funds to a crypto exchange, it's clear that I'm using it to buy cryptocurrency. If I send it to a business, it's clear that I'm buying goods or services from that business. But if I just send it from one individual to another individual, there's no information about what it is, so it can remain completely anonymous. And even if there was a whole infrastructure set up in China to identify who these sellers were and to identify them almost like drug dealers or money launderers, the reality is there's so many people doing the exact same thing they're doing, which is, again, just sending money from one person to another. There's no difference between the transaction between someone buying Bitcoin using Alipay on a P2P exchange versus someone just going to the grocery store and just buying a head of lettuce, right? Like, those transactions would be seen as identical to each other. So this peer-to-peer trading system has decentralized the mechanism of trading. So we don't have to rely on a centralized system in order to find another buyer or seller. But then, of course, there's a whole question of, well, how do you find a peer-to-peer cryptocurrency exchange? And we can go into that in the future. So my first reason for why peer-to-peer cryptocurrency trading is the future is because I think we all have a similar worldview. If we're all in cryptocurrency, there's a pretty good chance that we're roughly quite pessimistic about the direction the world's heading. We feel that there's more desire for powers to centralize authority. There's a little more authoritarianism. There's a little more censorship. And there's a little more desire to control the monopoly that the fiat controllers have, over the currency system. And as a result of that, it's more and more likely that the stance that China has toward cryptocurrency, in my opinion, over time, it's going to be a position shared by many other countries in the world, because many other countries are not going to want to give up their monetary hegemony, right? And it might not even be the governments to do this. It will literally most likely just be the banks. Like, there's many countries already, including my home country where I don't live, Australia, where if you're it's very hard to engage in this kind of business. And it's not, even if you have all the correct licenses from the government, it's the banks that will shut you down. So if you're engaged in just, you're doing some kind of business in the crypto world, there's a very good chance that your bank will just debank you. And there doesn't have to be any rule for it, that it doesn't even have to be against any terms and services. They can just do it because it's against the interest to allow wide-scale cryptocurrency adoption to threaten their monopoly on the fiat system. I think this is something we all agree on. So there's a trend of it's going to get harder and harder to buy cryptocurrency in the future. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I think it's clear. I'm just going to give a number of examples off the top of my head. Like for instance, we'll just talk about Monero real quick. You had Agora Desk get shut down. You had like Sumo Wallet. The feds got to them. That's like a wallet for Monero. Also, Monero got delisted from Binance. And then if we just talk about exchanges in general, like Binance, they recently were prevented by the Australian government from allowing customers to onboard cash into crypto using their exchange. You can still do it via P2P, but you can't buy it directly on their exchange. And over time, the laws are going to become more and more strict. Everyone knows this. I think everyone knows of Operation Choke Point. I won't go into the details, but the goal is, what they're going to do is they're going to make it so onboarding your cash into crypto is going to get harder and harder, and they're going to do that. The way to get around this is with P2P cryptocurrency trading. If this is a method that worked in China, where they've got these very strict laws, then it's certainly something that you can do in the West or whatever country that you're in. So P2P cryptocurrency trading, it's almost impossible to shut down. I don't know how you can do it. They can target a few individual sellers, but at the end of the day, it's too hard to even get them. And even if they do, there's so many other people doing it. And on top of that, let's just say if it's one particular country, one jurisdiction, it's trying to shut down a few sellers in that country. The problem is there's also going to be sellers in another country that are offering the same service, and that these people can't get to them. So it would require a global, worldwide effort where every single country has to crack down on every single P2P seller. And even then, it's going to be hard because the P2P sellers have like a lot of various methods to get around these things. And there's more and more of these people. And a lot of these people, frankly, are in a lot of these P2P sellers. I want to say, are in countries that they don't give a shit about various things. Their country allows for it. So just going off the top of the list, like a lot of the P2P sellers are frankly in Vietnam. They're in Central Asia. A lot of them are in Africa. But then of course you've got many in first world nations, and of course you've got Hong Kong, Singapore, Dubai, where it's more regulated. So even if like 90% of the countries decide that we're going to really crack down on P2P selling, there's going to be like 10% of the countries that are like, wow, like if we just allow people to trade crypto, or they have okay regulations for it, like in Hong Kong or Dubai does, then or people can come here and they can trade and they can make money, and it'll be a bonanza for them just because of the way they manage their regulations. Or they might just be from countries that I guess you could say are just maybe, I don't want to say dodgy, but it's just that their banks are not so clearly looking at every single transaction with a fine-tooth comb. So when you go onto P2P trading, like even a place like Binance or Bybit, you find like a bunch of people who are just from Uzbekistan, they're from Pakistan, they're from Indonesia. And so it's really hard to just control everyone all the time. And as a result, that's why P2P trading is so excellent. The second point that I want to make is, it's also related to a life story that it's related to me, is that this is getting a bit personal. I do feel a little bit uncomfortable sharing this on the internet, but I think I just should be a little courageous and talk about these things. I was living in China, and I came back to Australia just as COVID happened. And I remember thinking to myself, like, thank goodness I live in a first world democracy where there's a rule of law and we have rights and stuff like that. And, I feel really bad about, people in Wuhan just being locked down, and, people in Shanghai just being locked down for months at a time. And then, lo and behold, look what happened in Australia. They locked everyone down. They started force vaccinating people. And you couldn't leave even 5 kilometers past your house. And it made me very, very pessimistic about the way Western civilization is heading. So what happened was, maybe I won't go into this too much, but because I didn't want to take the vaccine, I had to find a way to escape my country, which I did. Won't go into too many details there. Ended up living in the Caribbean, and I went full-on doomsday prepping. My idea was I was going to buy a passport with, so crypto was 2021, right? So I had a lot of money back then. I was going to buy a passport, and I was just going to go full-on doomsday prepping in one of these small Caribbean islands and just live totally off the grid. So I went to a small island, an island at this moment, I'm not gonna say which island that it was, but we'll just say it's an extremely small island with a tiny, tiny population. It's so small you can't even find this island on a map. But it was a pristine Garden of Eden type place where there was basically no industry. It was just totally agriculture, and it was a hidden paradise for all intents and purposes. So I went there just to doomsday prep. All right. And I got my food. I bought like tons and tons of food, tons of water. I lived by a river with clean, fresh water. Came very close with my local community, who I was accepted into, and I loved very dearly. I became a farmer there, and I even got like a renewable energy source. Like I had a solar panel, right? So I was as off grid as you could get, but I still had to worry about money because I was concerned that the banks would continue to shut down in this country. There were a number of banks that shut down during 2022, and it was a real reason for concern. I had to line up every Monday morning to pull cash out from the ATM. And beyond that, I was just also concerned about the way things are heading in the world. Like many people in the cryptocurrency world, are very paranoid about the way the financial system is heading. And you get this sense that any moment things could just go belly up and you might not be able to go to a bank anymore. So I've had most of my money, I had most of my money in cryptocurrency. And I just wanted to be able to find a way to turn my cryptocurrency into stuff. You know what I mean by stuff? I'm talking things you can hold tangibly, not ones and zeros on a screen. I'm talking about things you can put into your mouth and digest and sustain yourself. And I discovered a way through P2P trading. I would use a P2P cryptocurrency exchange to buy Amazon gift cards. And the reason why I would do this is that I can use my cryptocurrency to buy these gift cards. Then with these gift cards, I would redeem them on the Amazon.com website. And then I would use my gift card balance on the website to buy things and then have it sent over to myself. And because there was like a really high shipping fee because I wasn't actually living in America, but I was buying things in America, the reason why I was able to sustain that was because I was getting I could buy it. How can I say? I was getting a huge discount on the Amazon gift cards because I was using Bitcoin to buy and sell things. And this clued me in on the realization that in the P2P crypto trading world, of all the currencies that exist, Bitcoin is the alpha currency amongst all of them because Bitcoin can be used in the most circumstances. It's the most liquid. It can be used all over the world. But other currencies or other trading methods are used in a very limited aspect. So with the Amazon gift cards, you can only use it on Amazon, and you can only use it to buy gift cards. You can't even change it for money. Let's just say PayPal balance, another example, right? You can only use those funds on PayPal, or you have to withdraw to your bank account, and then you can do things with that there. And so all the other payment methods or currencies or whatever are limited to certain use cases, but crypto could be used for all things. So if you're someone that had an Amazon gift card, or you're someone with PayPal balance, imagine you're someone in Bangladesh and you've got TransferWise and you've only got I don't know what currency they have, right? Those things are useless outside of the very narrow range of things that they can actually do. But if you transfer it into cryptocurrency, it can be used for a vast array of things. So that's where I came up with the idea of creating my own exchange, because I realized, there's a spread that I can make here if I become a maker, if I become a distributor of cryptocurrency, right? So the point that I wanted to make with this whole story is that I could use cryptocurrency to actually buy and sell things. I realized I didn't have to wait for total Bitcoinization, Bitcoin adoption. I can actually do it now because anything that you want to buy, you can buy on the internet, and anything you buy on the internet, you could probably buy it with a gift card. It doesn't even have to be an Amazon gift card. Any P2P cryptocurrency exchange, well, there's some that are better than others, will sell most gift cards. Most gift cards you can buy anything. You can buy groceries. And that's what I was doing when I was living in the Caribbean. Like, I was just buying in bulk canned sardines because that's what I wanted. I didn't want anything else, right? So that's the third story. Sorry, that's the second story. You can essentially use your cryptocurrency to actually live out. You can survive in the doomsday apocalypse, I guess you could say. You could survive in a broken down scenario where if you didn't have any cash, you can actually use your crypto for real utility. Not one of these Bitcoin boomers that just sits on your Bitcoin and does shit all with it. You're someone that actually can use your Bitcoin to to trade, to buy real things, right? And it's not just the gift cards. That's just one example. There's many other things that you can do with it. And I can go into that in future videos. The third and last story that I want to get into is it's also related to the China stuff, and it's got to do with a documentary that I made about the Cultural Revolution. I spent around 6 months working on this documentary, and if you're interested, you can go check out my other YouTube channel. I'll leave a link in the description below if you're interested in learning about Chinese history. But in this video, I spent a lot of time documenting and learning and studying, how the Cultural Revolution began, what its origins were, and ultimately how it finished. And what I want to tell you about is how the Cultural Revolution finished. How the Cultural Revolution finishes is a very interesting story, because the Chinese planned economy was so rigid and centralized, and it just lacked any and all efficiencies. So people who relied on getting meal tickets, that would receive these meal tickets, they would be waiting in these long bread lines forever, and they'd get to the front of the queue and they wouldn't really get that much, right? And the reason why there was no alternative for this is because Mao had spent the past decade and a half erasing any fabric of the free market. So anyone that was just buying, and you could just have a soup kitchen in your house. If you're accepting money for that, that's capitalism, and then it would just be eradicated, right? So all trading outside the planned economy was totally eradicated. But as society became more and more dysfunctional, and the ability to get goods and services became increasingly limited, a black market would subtly emerge in the background of life there. And in every village there would be some bridge or some back alley where people would meet, and someone would trade a chicken for some penicillin, or someone would trade a book for another book. And this is going on everywhere, and it slowly over time became like an unspoken thing. Things are dysfunctional, but people still need to get things, and these things would be busted down. There would be busts, and people would get in trouble. Items would be confiscated. People would be sent to the countryside for their crimes. But the need for things ultimately trounced the fear of getting in trouble for these things. And this became especially pronounced when certain medical items weren't being allowed. Before, it was just certain banned books. You'd have to go to the black market for that. But eventually, if you wanted Western medicine, which came from capitalist countries, you would have to go to the black market for it. And then increasingly over time, as the food situation became more and more scarce, and people maybe they had the ability to get food, but they just couldn't get it, they would have to go to these black markets. So over time, the black market increased with things you could buy from it, and then they increased the amount of sellers, increased the amount of buyers. And as society became more authoritarian and more dysfunctional, more and more of the actual trading would go to these black markets until things reached a pinnacle of dysfunctionality. When Mao died, and after the whole Gang of Four, in 1978, when Deng Xiaoping had officially opened up the economy, the only reason why that was done was for purely practical reasons. Things were so dysfunctional that they had to allow people to trade, and even the government, if they wanted certain things, would have to go to the black market themselves. So all that they really did when they opened up the economy was that they officialized the black market economy. It was this uncontrolled economy where people were just trading peer-to-peer with each other. They traded without any centralized guidance. And my point of this story is that I believe that we're in a time that is so dysfunctional, and it's going to become increasingly authoritarian, and people are going to be forced more and more into these centralized enclaves of trade and commerce, where everything is tracked and traced and taxed and whatever. And my belief is that because it's going to be so increasingly dysfunctional, people are going to be forced to join these parallel systems. And one of these parallel systems is the cryptocurrency world, and that's why more and more people are getting into it. However, the problem with the cryptocurrency world as it stands is so much of the trading volume is done through these centralized exchanges, which, like the situation in China, they're going to be coerced, and the functionality of using cryptocurrency as a P2P trading mechanism so you can buy real goods, that's ultimately being left out. So I'm making this video to give you some ideas about why P2P trading is important and what you can actually do to it, because it's a lot more than just making money or just being a LARPing anarcho-capitalist, libertarian. It's about actual functional utility, because as society degenerates, you're going to want to have a real, you're going to need to have tools to help you and your family buy things when it's going to be increasingly difficult. And it's going to come to a stage where it's, well, like, even if you have all your money in cryptocurrency, maybe it becomes harder and harder to off-ramp that currency. And maybe you decide you don't even want to off-ramp that currency to buy things because the currency's inflating, there's so much inflation. Maybe it comes to a stage where you don't even want to hold on to any dollars for even a month, because it's just like holding onto a bucket full of water and there's a hole in the bucket. So using P2P trading mechanisms is the way to help you debank, and this is what this channel is about. And if you like this idea, this concept, please subscribe to my channel and learn more about these things. And if you're interested in getting involved in P2P trading, whether that's for the utility of being able to buy and purchase things anonymously with your cryptocurrency, or whether it's because you want to become a P2P seller and make money in the cryptocurrency market, or maybe you're just a total anarcho-capitalist libertarian and you just want everything to be totally invisible. Regardless of what your reason is, I'm sure there's a reason for you to get involved. And if that's you, I suggest using my referral links in the description below for the two primary P2P cryptocurrency exchanges that I recommend. One's called HODL HODL and the other is called Local CoinSwap. Both these exchanges, you don't require any KYC to sign up, and there's a lot of offers on that. And you can trade, you can use almost anything that you can imagine to buy cryptocurrency, any payment method, any currency from any country, and it doesn't require any KYC. And if you don't mind giving a little bit of KYC, because you can get a better rate, then I suggest using my referral link in the description below again to sign up with Bybit, Binance, or OKX. All the three of these have a P2P cryptocurrency exchange. And if you've already KYC with these platforms and you're already on there, you can find payment methods on here. You can find sellers on here that won't require additional KYC from you. And you can use a multitude of various payment methods to onboard your crypto, especially if you're not interested in onboarding the way I was talking about before, using your bank account to send to the cryptocurrency exchange, where eventually it's probably going to be censored and it's probably going to be a weak link in the chain for onboarding a cryptocurrency. So if that's something that interests you, check out my referral links and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. See you later.